Mike, I know you have very limited time, but I want to give you an opportunity from a legal perspective to talk about the fear of this moment slipping away and Republicans doing what they always do, which is to link arms and sing kumbaya and not do anything. What must Republicans do in this moment?
Well, we're seeing this right now in the House, where Ilhan Omar celebrated Charlie Kirk's death, his assassination. This is a father, Christian father. This is a Christian husband. This was a very good man who was murdered in cold blood. And people like Ilhan Omar, she's celebrating his death. Remember when Marjorie Taylor Greene got kicked off of her committee assignments by the House Democrats? Why the hell are House Republicans even debating this? There's no question they should move forward and vote to kick Ilhan Omar off of her committees and censor her. And that's just the different mindsets that Republicans have. We think that we're still dealing with our parents' and grandparents' Democrat Party. We think we're still dealing with liberals who love America and just disagree with conservatives on the best way to get there. You would think after the Democrat operatives tried to put President Trump in prison for life 4 times for non-crimes, tried to bankrupt him for non-fraud, tried to illegally, unconstitutionally take him off the ballot in Colorado and Maine and elsewhere, tried to take off his head when Joe Biden said that Trump was the gravest threat to democracy, and to put a bullseye on Trump's head and then underfunded Trump's Secret Service protection twice, almost getting him killed. We saw with the Democrats, including Joe Biden, labeling President Trump and his supporters and Kamala Harris as fascist, saying that we are garbage. What do Democrats think is going to happen when you call someone a fascist, label their supporters garbage, put a bullseye on them? What do you think is going to happen to people like Charlie Kirk when that happens? What do they think is going to happen when you go to the most mentally ill people in society, some of the most mentally ill people in society, people with gender dysphoria, a tragic, severe mental illness when people think they are in the wrong body. They think they are in the wrong sex. That is the most severe, tragic mental illness imaginable. And instead of treating these people for their severe mental illness like you would treat schizophrenia, for example, we want to affirm their mental illness. We want to celebrate their mental illness. We want to convince them that they are victims of fascists and they're going to get killed. And then you load them up with hormones. Already crazy people, you're loading up with hormones to make crazier. You're creating this gender dysphoria among kids, where you make kids. We have not seen an epidemic of gender dysphoria in this country. That a tragic, sad mental illness. We have not seen. We have not seen that spike in recent years. It is social contagion. They are convincing kids that it's cool for little boys to be little girls, and then you have their parents, crazy parents, sending them to have pills and surgeries that are destroying their lives, and it's making the transgender industry a lot of money. Instead of treating mental illness like we should, we're affirming it, we're celebrating it, we're magnifying their mental illness, and then you have this epidemic of transgender murders, transgender violence. And then if you talk about it, you're a fascist and you're a transphobe. This is insanity. And this is what I say to the Republicans. This is what I've said since the Kavanaugh confirmation. This is what I've said since the Mar-a-Lago raid. We need to learn how to fight legally, politically, and financially, because we are not dealing with liberal Democrats of our parents' or grandparents' generation. We are dealing with leftist Marxists who hate us. They want to throw us in prison for thought crimes. They want to banish us from society. They want to cancel us. They want to kill us. And we need to wake up to that reality, and we need to start responding accordingly, legally, financially, politically. We need to start putting these violent terrorists in prison instead of trying to debate them.
So, Mike, I know that you are up against a hard out, but since you have been so strong on this issue, and since the Trump Justice Department listens to you so closely, And since so many of the people that are pushed by the Article 3 project are, well, in positions of high power right now, what do you advise Republicans to do? And I just want to kick off this question, this final question to you thusly. President Trump called for the classification of Antifa as a terrorist organization. I agree with that. Yet that is currently being bogged down in the House. Republicans can't even muster the courage to call a legitimate terrorist organization domestically run by their political enemies that targets their political friends a terrorist organization. The floor is yours, Mike.
Fortunately, President Trump has assembled an all-star team of bold and fearless warriors for the Constitution, whether it's Attorney General Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, FBI Director Kash Patel, Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino, Harmeet Dillon, the head of the Civil Rights Division Chad Mizell, the Chief of Staff John Sauer, the Solicitor General, so many good people. My good friend Jason Redding Quinones, the new U.S. Attorney down in Miami, the Southern District of Florida. I think that seems like a very good place to open a criminal probe that we've been talking about on your show, Ben, for the last 3 years since the Mar-a-Lago raid for conspiracy against rights under 18 USC Section 241. Because when Democrats, Obama, Biden, Hillary, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Weissman, so many others involved with this conspiracy, Jack Smith, Fannie Willis, Alvin Bragg, Tish James, Nathan Wade, so many others involved with this conspiracy against rights, Jay Bratt, when you politicize and weaponize intel agencies and law enforcement to go after your political enemies for non-crimes, that is the definition of conspiracy against rights. And they would not be so eager to label us fascist and get their deranged supporters out there trying to kill us if they were facing criminal probes and criminal indictments. It's a zero-sum game. And so I would say that going back to 2016 with Crossfire Hurricane, when Hillary Clinton, as a presidential candidate, worked with Barack Obama and Joe Biden and the top intel and law enforcement officials to make up the Russian collusion hoax, to lie to the FISA courts, to get illegal spy warrants on a presidential candidate, Donald Trump, and then to continue to spy on him as the president of the United States, all for the purpose of covering up Hillary Clinton's foreign corruption that was found on her server that was hacked by the Chinese and Russians, most certainly. I think that they need to open up this criminal probe ASAP. This probe includes all the lawfare against President Trump, 2 impeachments for nonsense, 4 indictments for non-crimes, trying to bankrupt Trump for non-fraud, trying to throw him off the ballots, indicting him in 4 different jurisdictions in Georgia, Jack Smith, New York with Alvin Bragg, Tish James with the civil lawsuit, Chris Mays in Arizona, naming him an unindicted co-conspirator and pulling in all these Trump supporters. This is a criminal conspiracy against rights under 18 USC Section 241. It goes all the way back to Crossfire Hurricane. The statute of limitations is not an issue because continuing the conspiracy tolls the statute of limitations, meaning there's no statute of limitations problem, 5 years or whatever the federal statute of limitations would be in this case, because it's an ongoing criminal conspiracy. Covering up the conspiracy continues the conspiracy. So I strongly recommend that my friend Jason Redding Quinones down in the Southern District of Florida, where Democrats did the Mar-a-Lago raid to get back Crossfire Hurricane records from President Trump to cover up the conspiracy, that seems like a very good place to open up this criminal probe. Maybe in Fort Pierce, Florida, where Mar-a-Lago is, maybe Judge Cannon can oversee this case. That would be a great thing.
Mike Davis of the Article 3 Project. Everyone, please follow Mike. I know that he has a hard out. Mike, you are welcome back anytime to tell our audience, well, the future, as you often do on this program. I'm not sure you'll ever get better than the banger of we're going to put Letitia James's fat ass in prison, but, well, Mike, you're welcome to try. anytime on our program. Everyone follow Mike and support the Article 3 project. The links are right there on his X handle that has 500,000, 500,000 subscribers. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Ben.